I've been struggling with overheating the last couple of runs on this car, and I've gotten it pretty warm a couple times. Well, no, matter of fact, one time I got it just outright hot. Haven't pushed water, not even one time. I've got a 30-pound cap on it. I have not lost a bit of water out of the system, so I've never made steam. But I actually got this engine up to about 260 a couple of weeks ago. And like I said, it didn't push water or anything, and the engine was fine, but I changed the oil, and I could even tell it in the oil. I run that Valvoline VR1, and I mean, it actually had that smell and that look like that oil had hit that breakdown point. I had made several changes over the last several races while I've been working on this car to try to really figure out and get on top of this cooling issue I've been having. Moving around how I did the screen, taking away where I had a valence I felt like was cutting off too much air into the front of the car, and like was scrubbing the track and churning up debris, took that away. And like, regardless of what I've done, I've just still been seeing all this dirt. I don't think that I am screening the way I need to screen. And it's like, okay, I've got to do something, because we're going to the Nationals next, and we're going to be, it's multiple night runs with me there at the track, not able to come home and do anything. So it's like, I've got to have a radiator that I can trust night after night to work without these kind of problems. So, when in doubt, add more capacity. This is a 24-inch, the AFCO, it's the dual pass 24-inch radiator. No problems cooling with this on E85 until now, but I know why. It's not a capacity issue, it's a dirt ingestion problem. But if I want to, you know, add more hedge to that, more safety to that, when in doubt, add more capacity. So this is a 24, I bought a brand new 26, so let's take a look at that new radiator. This should be just about the exact same layout, just 2 inches wider. But it does look like that the tanks are a little bit narrower. Try not to bend it all up and smash fins. Okay, so now that sits. Put a few little dents here and there to make sure I got a little clearance. Main thing I see here, I want to show y'all something. I put a little clearance on that steering box right there, smooth that up just a little bit on that edge. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little dent in that radiator right there. You know, make me a gap in between the two, where that, like, if I get hit or whatever, and I don't just cut into that there. And I'm going to dent this too just a little bit where the radiator cap goes. That worked. I'm looking at everything I've done so far, like, have I done everything I can do to just eliminate any overheating issues? Wider radiator, 2 more inches of capacity, reducing on the pulleys to slow the water pump down so that it'll be more efficient with its flowing. I tighten the fan shroud up, I make sure that my fan blades are half in, half out all the way around, and only about a 1/2 inch gap all the way around the fan, so that's optimal for that as well. You know, so I'm looking at all this and I'm saying, what else can I do? In the past, I had been using a screen that I just draped down. I think we need to build a shaker screen instead. Not hard to do, not expensive to do. You don't have to go buy a real expensive shaker screen. We're just going to build one. So let's do that now. The first thing I've got to figure out is the size of the shaker screen. Like, how big, how wide is it going to be? Well, I don't have anything to mount it to, so I don't have a width yet. So before I do anything else, I've got to come up with some mounts for my shaker before I can actually build it. And so I'm going to get out here outside the radiator, because the radiator comes out forward. I'm going to make sure I'm way out here past it. I got me a couple tubes that I've cut, and I'm just going to weld them in and get them straight up and down here. And then let's put a fire blanket on that radiator where I don't mess it up. I would hate to accidentally arc a brand new radiator. That would be bad. Bad, 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 bad. So I'll fit that down through there. I'll throw these on. There we go. Got 29.5. So I got 29.5 inches, so I'm gonna make it like a 1/4 inch shorter, so like 29 1/4 inches. And then on the height, about 20 inches is plenty. Now let me show you what we're fixing to do. Get down here on the floor right quick. Do you recognize this? This is a wreath hanger, a wreath tree. She's got an old graveyard. A lot of times when they clean off the gravestones and stuff, you'll have a pile of these that'll be off to the side somewhere, or you can just check with your flower shops and stuff. If they got some old ones that are messed up or whatever, you may be able to come up with one of these for free. I got a bunch of them. So anyway, the reason I use it is because it's just 1/4 inch mild steel, and that's all you need. So I use this stuff, you know, like fabrication, because steel's expensive, y'all. But anyway, let me get this chopped up right quick. Hadn't got to be exact, just give yourself a little bit of room. We are trying not to overbuild this. This does not have to be some crazy rigid structure, so we'll just good enough. A little bit of blind spot weld in there. Turn it over. Let's see. We gave ourselves a little bit of extra room, so it hadn't got to be perfect. But it ain't bad. That's going to work right there. So I'm going to mark this at 7 inches, so roughly a third, a little more than a third there down. We're making it where it's going to have a heavier bottom than top. It's going to make sense when we do it. And I'm going to take and weld this up. Yeah. We'll take and cut this off. Hopefully y'all can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just creating a little bit, make it just a little bit more rigid. Like I said, it's not going to really have much pressure on it, but we're going to make it as rigid as we can. Okay, I cleaned the welds up. I got me a couple 5/16 bolts here. These are just donor bolts right now. I'm gonna take these back out, but I got 2 nuts on them. I'm gonna use 2 instead of just 1 nut. That way it's got a little bit more to weld onto. It's a little bit more secure. And like I said, precision is not all that important here. So I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate straight and level. And I'm going to weld these nuts on, and you'll see why it really doesn't matter, because this thing's supposed to be able to rattle and flop around, so that's how we're going to build it. Unscrew that bolt. Alright, there's one out. And then turn around. Do the same thing on this other side. Throw that one on there. 2 nuts together. And just take a guess. Right there across the middle. So now, this bad boy right here is complete. That's ready. Alright, let's put the mount on the car. Alright, y'all, check it out. I got this one put together. You see, I got a 5/16 bolt going in there. I've got a nut locking it, and I've got a 3/8 nut on it. Here, we'll put this one together. We'll put this one together. I'll show you. All right, get that to sit up there. Sit. some kind of way here. There we go. All right, so yeah, all I'm doing here, I'm taking a 5/16 18, like an 1.5 inch one, dropping that 3/8 nut on it. This all makes sense when you see me stick this on here. Some of y'all already figured out what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna run this nut down. And that's just to, I'm using that nut I run down on it like a lock nut. Because I want this thing to be, it's got to be loose. It has to be able to wiggle. So we have to lock it in place where the bolt won't back out. So there we go. Run that down flush. And I take that one and just lock it in like that. And that 3/8 nut's loose. And we're going to take and put her in here. And I can take this thing off because I can back these two bolts out. So I'm just going to take and drop it right in here. I'm going to weld one side and then the other. I'll set it level. I want it down enough. I want the bottom of it, I want the bottom of this to actually be a little bit below the radiator where that it's getting some wind on it. Don't get rattled. Well, let's see how it works. That's what we was after. That's why we call it a shaker screen. The idea, most all of these, you won't see them split right through the middle of it. They'll be like a little high. And that's to help it, you know, it's always going to fall back down. The idea, I've never run one of these before, but this is a good thing to do. This is something like a lot of people say, hey, as far as helping to cut down on debris, and like if you are a lot of mud on the track, a lot of debris that's getting picked up, the idea of the shaker screen is that, you know, you've got your screen cover over it and it's rattling and it's moving, and when you hit the brakes it's flopping forward, and then you accelerate, it's flopping back, so it's constantly knocking, especially if you've got some big heavy dirt or something, it's knocking it off, and so it keeps from covering you up on the front. So it's a really good idea, and I just want to make sure I didn't skip anything on this cooling system for this car. I'm going to use this, this is like rabbit wire right here. It's like little 1/4 inch squares, but this was the last good piece that I had left, and it's not quite wide enough, so I'm going to run to the hardware store in the morning and get me some more of this and cut me a bigger piece. And I have took and put screen on top of it that is more like this fine, like this right here, and I'll zip tie it to it. So I'll just cut a piece the same and then just take and put some zip ties all the way around it. Then it's not a problem to replace. I can just cut it off, put another one on there. But tonight, I'm going to go ahead and throw some paint on it. Y'all don't watch that. That's boring. So we're going to end this video right here. I will see you next time.